The evening crowd hurried past her like she wasn't even real, like she was just another shadow on the sidewalk. Cars hissed through the rain, neon signs flickered, and the cold wind pushed people into cafes, train stations, and warm living rooms that had nothing to do with her life. She stood near the corner of Westbridge Avenue, wrapped in a thin, torn jacket that barely covered her shoulders, holding her baby close to her chest as if the child was the only heat left in the world. Her eyes were tired, deep, soft, but worn by years of fighting life alone. Her name was Miranda, a black woman with a quiet strength. Most people never bothered to look long enough to see, and tonight, like every night, she stood in the same spot with her cardboard sign. "We'll sing for food. God bless you." Some people glanced. Some felt pity. Most walked on, but Miranda didn't blame them. Life had taught her long ago that people only heard what they wanted to hear, only saw what they wanted to see. She gently rocked her baby, humming under her breath, letting her melody blend with the sound of rain on the pavement. Then came the moment that changed everything. A young woman named Alina, shivering from the weather and late for her bus, almost ran past Miranda like everyone else. But then she heard something faint, a soft, trembling hum like a warm light leaking through a crack. She paused. It wasn't even singing, not yet, just a quiet tone. A small sliver of music that somehow reached past the noise of the street and settled. Softly against her heart, she turned. Miranda lifted her tired eyes, and for the first time tonight, someone actually saw her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Alina asked, unsure why she suddenly felt so drawn to her. Marina gave a small, weary smile. "I'm all right, baby. Just trying to make it through the night." Baby stirred, and Miranda adjusted her hold. Alina glanced at the cardboard sign, then at the woman's trembling hands. "Do you really sing?" she asked. Miranda nodded. "I used to, before life got heavy." Alina swallowed. Something in her wanted to help, but she wasn't sure how. The rain was starting to fall harder, and she hesitated, shifting her bag across her shoulder. "Wish I had cash," she said softly. Miranda suddenly stepped forward, her voice calm. "Could you hold my baby for a moment, sweet girl?" Alina froze. "Hold your baby. Just for a little while," Miranda said gently. "I want to sing proper. Haven't been able to with my arms full." Alina didn't know why she trusted the woman. Maybe it was the softness in her eyes. Maybe it was the baby's peaceful breathing. Maybe it was the fact that Miranda looked like she hadn't been properly helped in a long, long time. She nodded slowly. Miranda carefully placed the child in Elena's arms, making sure the blanket was tucked around him just right. The warmth of the small baby startled Elena. It felt like holding a tiny piece of hope. Miranda stepped back, closed her eyes, and took a long, steady breath. And then she began to sing. The first note rose through the cold air like something living, something breaking free after years trapped in silence. It wasn't loud, just controlled, powerful, and heartbreakingly pure. People on the sidewalk literally stopped. A couple walking a dog froze mid-step. A man closing an umbrella turned toward the sound. Even cars slowed as drivers rolled down windows. Her voice filled the street, echoing off glass buildings and mixing with rainfall. It was the kind of voice that didn't just sound beautiful, it carried stories. Pain, faith, loss, and strength, all woven into each note. Her voice carried the weight of every night she'd gone hungry. Every moment she'd protected her baby from cold winds. Every dream life had stolen from her. Alina felt the baby's heartbeat against her chest, and tears burned in her eyes. She had never heard anything like this. No recording, no concert, no choir. Nothing compared. Miranda didn't just sing. She poured her soul out. More people gathered. They filmed. They whispered. They cried. A businessman lowered his phone and simply listened, his eyes glassy. A young couple held hands tighter. A teenager who was rushing home to avoid the rain forgot all about the weather and stepped closer. Mesmerized, the street transformed into a small audience, but Miranda didn't open her eyes. She didn't see the crowd forming. She didn't see the camera pointed at her. She didn't see the dozens of strangers watching with their hearts exposed. She only felt the music, the one thing life hadn't stolen from her. When she reached the final note, long and trembling and holy, the entire street fell silent. Not a sound, not even a car horn. Then came the applause, loud, growing, echoing across the avenue. Morena opened her eyes slowly. Blinking at the crowd she didn't expect to see, her cheeks trembled, shocked, almost frightened by the attention. Alina stepped forward with the baby, tears still on her face. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, she whispered. Marina gently took her baby back, holding him close. She looked at the crowd, at all the people staring at her like she was something extraordinary instead of invisible. I just wanted him to hear me, she said softly, kissing her child's forehead. He loves when I sing. The baby cooed. And then, pushing through the crowd, a man in a long coat approached. He had the posture of someone important, someone used to standing on stages, someone who didn't blend into sidewalks. Alina recognized him. Everyone did it. It was Marcus Hale, the world-famous music producer who'd discovered half the biggest singers alive. He stepped right up to Morena. Ma'am, he said, breathless. What is your name? Morena blinked. I'm Morena. He stared at her with disbelief. I have been searching for a voice like yours for 20 years. The crowd gasped. Mara frowned, unsure if she was being mocked. I'm just trying to survive, she murmured. Marcus shook his head. No, you're not just trying to survive. You're singing like someone who was born to change lives. She didn't know how to answer, but the rain kept falling. The neon lights kept glowing, and the crowd kept watching, waiting for her next breath, her next word. As if they already sensed something bigger was coming, Alina stepped forward again, voice trembling. If you're watching this video, she whispered into her phone, tell us where in the world you're watching from. And please, like, share, and subscribe, because this woman's voice deserves to be heard. The crowd cheered again. And somewhere in the chaos, Marina's baby squeezed her finger. She didn't know it yet, but her entire life was about to change, forever. The rain didn't stop that night, but something inside Morena shifted the moment the crowd roared for her. It wasn't hope exactly. Hope was something she had learned to live without. It was something deeper, something quieter, something like the soft glow of a candle in a dark room. She held her baby close as Marcus Hale, the legendary producer, walked beside her toward a nearby cafe where he insisted she'd get warm. People followed them like they were witnessing a miracle, whispering, filming, wiping tears. Inside the cafe, warmth wrapped around her like a blanket. The smell of coffee, pastries, and cinnamon filled the air. People inside stared when they saw her, this homeless woman with a baby, soaked to the skin, standing beside a man whose face had been on magazine covers for years. Morena felt small. Out of place? She almost turned around to leave, but Marcus gently touched her arm. Sit, he said softly. You stood long enough. She lowered herself into the booth, holding her baby close as he slept soundly against her chest. The vibration of his tiny breaths calmed her. A waitress hurried over with towels and hot tea. On the house? She whispered, eyes shining with emotion. Your voice. I heard it from outside. Morena didn't know how to react. Compliments made her nervous. Praise felt foreign. She'd spent so long invisible that attention felt like another kind of cold, sharp. Sudden, too much all at once, Marcus slid into the seat across from her. Before anything else, he said, I want to hear your story. Not for business, for myself. Her fingers trembled around the teacup. There's no grand story, she said quietly. Just a woman who took too many wrong turns. Wrong turns don't make bad people, Marcus replied. They just make tired ones. She stared into her tea, watching the steam twist upward. I grew up singing in church, she began. Music was the one thing I could always rely on. My mama used to say, my voice could pull sunlight out of a storm. She smiled faintly at the memory. But life happened. Mama passed. Jobs were hard. Then I met my baby's father, and he wasn't what I thought. She didn't say more. She didn't have to. Marcus nodded gently. You don't owe me your pain. She wiped her eyes quickly. I just wanted my son to hear me sing. I wanted him to know. His mama has something beautiful inside her, even if the world doesn't see it. The cafe fell silent, as if the universe leaned in to listen. Then Marcus took a breath. I want to offer you something, he said slowly. A chance most people will never get. Her heart stopped. He leaned closer. I want to record you. Morena's breath shook. Record me? Yes, you have a gift, Morena, a once-in-a-generation voice. I don't say that lightly. I want to bring you into a studio. I want to arrange sessions. I want to help you share your voice with the world. Her head spun. I don't have money, she stammered. I don't have anything to give back. Marcus shook his head. Yeah, give the voice. I handle the rest. Tears gathered in her eyes again. I haven't sung properly in years. You did tonight? He said. And you shook the whole street. She held her baby closer. If I do this, he has to come with me. Of course, Marcus said firmly. You don't do this alone. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The world outside blurred behind rain-soaked windows. Morena looked down at her sleeping child, feeling something warm and dangerous dash hope. Just then, the cafe door opened, and 3 people stepped inside. They moved with certainty, with intention. Their eyes scanned until they landed on Morena, her body Ted. It was her past, her baby's father's people, the man in front, a shaved head. Tattooed knuckles, anger carved deep into his face, glared at her like she was prey. There you are, he growled, stepping forward. You think you can just disappear? Marcus immediately stood up, shielding her instinctively. Is there a problem? He asked sharply. The man ignored him. You left with my kid? Morena's blood turned cold. She had run from that life a year ago, from the violence, the manipulation. The nights filled with shouting and broken things. He's not your kid, she whispered, shaking. You never cared about him. The man slammed his hand on the table, making the cups tremble. People in the cafe gasped. That kid is mine, he snarled. And you're coming back. Morena clutched her baby like a lifeline. No, she said. Never. Marcus stepped fully between them. Back off. But the man smirked. You. Think she can hide behind you? You think a fancy producer scares me? He leaned closer, lowering his voice. She belongs to us. No, Marcus said, voice steady as steel. She belongs to herself. The man's jaw twitched. Everything felt like it was about to erupt. Then the baby woke and began to cry. Morena rocked him, whispering soothing words through trembling lips. The moment was unbearable. Fear, tension, heartbreak all rising at once. But then came a voice from behind the man. Is there a problem here? It was the cafe manager, a broad-chested man with a protective Stanson behind him. 2 customers stood up as well, both big, both angry. The man with tattoos scowled, realizing for the first time that he wasn't just dealing with one person. The whole cafe was watching. They were not on his side. He spat on the floor. This isn't over, he growled. You're coming back eventually. No, Morena said softly. I'm not, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The cafe exhaled in relief. Marcus sat back down, breath shaking. Are you okay? Morena nodded weakly. He's been chasing me for months. I thought I could just sing. Just be myself, you will, Marcus said. Because from now on, you're protected. I'll make sure of it. She didn't know if she should believe him, but the sincerity in his eyes made her want to. Later that night, instead of returning to the street, she was taken to a small guest house owned by the cafe manager's sister. A warm bed, a dry blanket, a crib for her baby, a place with a door that locked. She cried quietly as she fed her child, overcome by the feeling of safety she hadn't felt in years. The next morning, Marcus arrived with a car to take her to the studio. She had never seen anything so big. Glass walls, shining equipment, soundproof rooms. Musicians moved around like it was a world of its own. She stood frozen at the entrance. You ready? Marcus asked gently. Morena looked down at her baby, then at the studio door. I'm scared, she whispered. "You're allowed to be scared," he said, "but walk in anyway." She did. The first note she sang in that recording booth was shaky. The second was stronger. By the third, the walls trembled with the power of her gift. Engineers stared through the glass with mouths open. One wiped his eyes. Another whispered, "This is unreal." Rena didn't hear any of them. She was lost in the music and the part of herself she'd abandoned long ago. Hours passed like minutes. By the time she finished, the studio was silent. Then Marcus spoke softly through the microphone. "Mirena, how does it feel to be discovered?" Her breath caught. She looked at her baby sleeping in his carrier. "Peaceful it feels," she whispered, "like God finally saw me." Marcus smiled through the glass. "And soon the whole world will."